everybody, how's it going?
Hey!
Man, this is pretty exciting. This is our very first live event, and we are so excited that you could join us. So as everybody's getting here and getting into the room with us, go ahead, drop it in the chat, where you're from, all sorts of stuff so we can see where everybody's at. We got folks in our Patreon from all over the country, so it'll be really exciting to see where you're tuning in from. And thank you so much for joining us.
And everybody can hear us okay. If you're having any technical issues, I mean, let us know. But this is our first time, so you're going to bear with us as we navigate this.
JC from Harrison. We got Jenny Brandt from the farm stand of Indiana. Hey, everybody.
We have Patreon members from all across the country, so this was kind of exciting. We weren't sure. It was hard to pick a time that was going to work for everybody, so we appreciate that you showed up today.
Yeah, totally. Trina from Midland. JC here's us fine. Awesome. Very cool. This is kind of a benchmark day, too. Not only is it our first live, but today we actually hit 800 members in the Patreon community, which is surreal. It's kind of unreal. You know, when we first started the Patreon, we didn't really know what it was all about, how that was going to work. And man, it's been awesome.
It's really blossomed into a whole new social platform for us, and one that really is more specifically what people are looking for. It's not just general pictures like Instagram. I don't know. It feels a little bit more
personal.
Yes,
it is. It's really cool. It's such a cool community. And I just can't believe how large it has gotten. So it's very cool. There's Eileen from Mount Pleasant. What's up, Eileen? Molly says hello. Hey, everybody. Yeah, this is super cool. So we're going to do a few different things in our time together today. Of course, we're going to be drinking some tea. For those of you that have gotten the herbal gift boxes, the seasonal boxes that we send out in the spring box, you got these 3 different teas.
Yep, you got a little sample, a cup size of 3 different Camellia sinensis teas. So drink them with us. If you already have some hot water ready, we're going to start with the Bancha leaf. So just so that you're on the same page, we already have our steeping. And if you don't have the tea, follow along. You can still get the gist of what we're talking about. And by the way, it is really windy here. So it's been really windy for many weeks here in Central Michigan. So it's very dry, windy. We're doing our best. Our microphones hopefully will help adhere some of that wind, but
it's been super windy. There's been branches falling out of the trees while we've been setting up. It's been very exciting. Very exciting stuff for sure. But we're going to do more than just drink tea together today, too. We're going to talk a little bit about some spring gardening. We're going to talk about some foraging. And then hopefully if you guys have some questions or anything, you could drop them down in the chat and we can answer your questions or whatever it might be. So that would be super fun, too. JC's already sipping the tea. Yeah. So awesome. The order that we're going to do the tea, we're going to do the Bancha first. That's what we thought. And then we're going to move into the Jasmine and then round it out with the orange Pekoe at the end. But you can obviously do whatever you want, for sure. It was cool to do a kind of a comparison of the green tea and the black teas. We do these tea tasting workshops. One of the programs we do on the road is this tea tasting sample. It's called The Art of Herbal Tea, right?
Yep.
And even though it's herbal tea, we always start with a green tea, black tea comparison because it's super fun, to just have a singular tea like that made from one plant, and then to get people's impressions. We've drank tea with over 1,000 people probably, and it is the same teas every time, and all these different impressions and flavor notes that folks can find. So it's really exciting. So we thought we'd try to do something kind of similar.
Yeah, base that idea. You know, sometimes we're all drinking the same exact tea, but everybody has a different way that they taste it and the way that it feels, and it's interesting to hear how people describe things. So feel free to, give us your impressions as you're drinking. That sounds lovely.
Hi, Sabrina.
Northern Indiana. We got a lot of Midwest peeps, which is cool.
Hey, they're the best peeps, if you ask me.
You'll at least be a little bit more on our same page with what's growing in the garden, what's coming up foraging when we talk about that in a little bit. So that'll be helpful. I know we have a couple Patreon people from California, which, I mean, they're in a whole nother zone over there. So sometimes it's hard to compare.
A lot of new folks just joined from Texas. I was just down at the homesteading conference in Texas, and a lot of folks have joined the Patreon right after that. So that was fun. So hopefully they'll get a chance to tune in. They're a different time zone, so we'll see how that goes for them.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about what makes a green and a black tea, like what makes them different?
Sure. So the real differences here, I mean, what's cool about it, let's say their similarity first. The thing that's so cool about them is that they both come from the same plant, right? Camellia sinensis. And it's just when the leaves are harvested and how they're processed that make these different types of teas. So for me, that's just fascinating to see that we could create so many different products essentially from the same plant. So the biggest difference is here, of course, green tea is harvested from the young, first flush is what they call the young, tender, small leaves of the Camellia sinensis plant. And then they're typically steamed to stop the oxidation process. So they keep their nice, vibrant green colors. Whereas black tea is usually the mature leaf of the plant, and it is allowed to oxidize. It's not steamed or anything like that. So it kind of cures over time with exposure to heat and sun and that sort of thing. So it darkens right up, hence black tea, So you get a much different flavor profile, a much different color and aroma in the cup. Very unique, different products. This one right here, though, that we're starting with, this is a green tea called Bancha. It's Japanese, and we looked it up. Bancha is the Japanese word that means common tea.
So it's one of the most common teas that you'll find in that area, but even just around. This was something that I wasn't really aware of, but there's Bancha that's more common in Sencha.
The
Right?
Sencha tea. Now, the Sencha green tea is like the high end. That's the good stuff. Where the Bancha, this is just the everyday green tea, but I think it's pretty tasty.
Yeah, and I loved the way, and actually if you want to grab that jar of the Bancha so I can look at it, but the way that the leaves are like,
you see that at all?
It's kind of hard to see that. No, they're more straw, like they're bigger pieces. They're super green from this co-op Bancha leaf that we have.
You'll also see, I mean, yeah, not only is the leaf big, but there's a little bit of stem in there. It's not as cleanly processed as a Sencha tea would be, which I guess is why it's less expensive, they say.
And they harvest it later in the season. So Sencha's harvested first, Bancha's harvested last. So that's what makes it
out of the young green, right? So that's what we're talking about. So the Senchas, the very, very tiny, they're practically buds. They haven't even really unfurled all the way and opened, whereas with that's the Sencha, and then the Bancha is a slightly older version of the green tea leaf. You're going to get some flavors and aromas. Oh, I can really get it too of like straw.
Yeah,
it's really like it's like
very
hay.
strawy.
It's a funny thing to note when we do the tea tasting. You can almost tell where people are from based on how they approach the aromas of green tea.
Yes.
Now we get the straw, grassy type of flavor from the chlorophyll that's in the leaves, which is preserved when we steam it. So you get that chlorophyll and you can save it. But if we're in a city, if we're like in a metropolitan area, folks almost don't even recognize the smell of grass.
They don't always use that word hay or straw to describe it, but when we're in a rural location, that sometimes is the first word that people use.
Straw and hay,
to describe a green tea flavor. So we always find that to be comical, but
everybody's got a different experience. Everybody's sipping the same tea, but we experience it in different ways based on like our point of reference. And if you live in a city, you don't really know straw and hay, I guess. How would you know that's what it tastes like? But as country folk, man, we know.
But apparently this tea has less caffeine than some of the other green teas and definitely black tea. But because it's so, it's been harvested later in the season, it's the caffeine level is just less. What do they say? Oh, and then they pan roast it to dry it. That was something interesting, which apparently also reduced the caffeine level, tannic acid content.
Yeah, sure. So we could think about this as the less expensive version, not that Sencha. They don't allow it to just dry naturally. They pan roast it to expedite the drying process, to get it processed and packaged faster so they can move along. And they say that affects the quality. This is why this is just a common lower tier type of tea. But again, I think it's delicious.
I think it's great. And
beautiful golden color in the water here.
Yeah, I don't normally put honey or milk into my green teas, and I definitely don't need it for this. It's not super bitter. I mean, ours has been steeping even longer than what we're 8 minutes in, so it tastes great.
Let's talk about that for a quick second. Before we do, I want to say hi to the new folks that have joined. So Sabrina, Northern Indiana, we mentioned. We got Jean Reynolds joining us from rural Arizona. She might know what straw tastes like. Bonnie Knight and from Cleveland, and then Jean's got a question here. We'll get to that in a little bit, Jean. Yep. That's a good question too. So that one we're going to want to dig into. I like that. But let's real quick talk about the steeping process for these teas. So on average, when we're brewing a tea from Camellia sinensis, whether it be green or black or whatever it might be, we are going to use about a teaspoon of dried herb for every 6 to 8 ounces of water, right? So for about a cup, we're going to use about a teaspoon. Now, the temperature of the water, this is really the important detail and one of the greatest differences between green tea and black tea. When we're brewing the black tea, we really want boiling hot water. What's that? 212 Fahrenheit up there. We want some hot water when we're brewing that black tea. But green tea, we actually want to allow the temperature of the water to cool down closer to 170, 175 degrees Fahrenheit to maintain the integrity, the quality of the flavor of that tea. too hot of water when we brew a green tea is going to pull a lot of those tannins out very quickly. It's not going to be as good. So we really want to pay attention to the temperature of the water. And then we're going to steep it for about 3 to 5 minutes on average. And that's a personal preference. When I'm steeping a green tea, I like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
like
but I tend to like a lighter tea. So we actually will literally set the timer in the kitchen because, you know, you think, oh, 3 minutes and I'm going to be able to pay attention. But no, you don't. 3 minutes, you're already off doing some sort of task. And then you come back and you're like, oh, my tea is way too strong. So we'll set a timer and it'll go off and be like, what's that timer for?
Yeah, in the 3 minutes it takes for the timer to go off, I forget what I set a timer for sometimes. So yeah, the timer is very important. And if I'm doing a black tea, I'm really particular about that 3 minutes. I like it there. But a green tea, I don't mind a longer steep. Like, you know, these bags, I haven't even taken the bag out of this one. It's been 8 minutes. It's steeping. It's still delicious.
Oh, whoa, that wind. Okay,
it's a windy day.
It's
a windy day.
We were going to talk about we're working on the next episode of the podcast, and it's going to be about foraging herbs and growing versus buying herbs. So
yeah, before we dig into that, let's try to answer Jean's question.
Yeah, because that kind of relates to that. So
do burdock and nettles provide the same benefits regardless of consuming them in tea or in smoothies? Oh, this is a fantastic question. So if we're thinking about like the nutritional quality of a plant, if we're going to be able to consume the entire plant, so the burdock root or the nettles, if we're going to incorporate that into a smoothie and eat the whole plant, we're going to get more of the nutrition than what we would if we brewed it into a tea. If we brew our nettles or burdock into a tea, we're only able to extract the water-soluble chemicals, nutrients, minerals, whatever it might be that we can pull out of that. And so we're going to miss some of the goodness that we would be able to get if we're ingesting the whole plant. Now, I mean, that being said, if we were going to be trying to consume nettles, if we're looking to, say, extract the minerals, which nettles are very high in minerals, iron and magnesium and that sort of thing, that you're actually going to get a better extraction utilizing something like vinegar. The acid in vinegar is going to pull out more of the minerals than the water would. So you'd actually get, if we're looking to harness the minerals, you'd get a more potent extraction utilizing something like vinegar. And then you could turn that into a salad dressing, an oxymel. There's a number of things that we could do with that.
And if you were going to cook, well, the smoothie, maybe you would eat the raw nettle. But if you were going to cook the nettle, would it change the nutritional value anyways?
Well, some people will say that, yeah, you know, the cooking the food does break it down. But I think an important thing to note here is that, especially with plant material, the cooking process actually breaks down the cell wall in the plant cell a little bit that makes the nutrients more available. So some studies have shown that you can actually get more nutrients from a plant that has been slightly cooked or steamed because it's more accessible to your body during the digestive process than if we were just to eat it raw.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So for me, for some reason, I'm thinking about carrots when I'm saying this out loud, because carrots, you know, are very hard, and you know, we could soften them up through steaming, and by softening them, it makes it easier for our body to break them down. So that's a long answer to your question, but I think that I'm going to say, yeah, put your nettles in smoothies. Do it.
Actually, we just found a bunch of nettles in the compost, which is a problem that we've been having, but we'd like to embrace it. So
we'd like to embrace it. You have to embrace it because there's no way out of this mess.
We keep taking chunks of nettles and planting them in the state land across the road, hoping that they will
settle in and take off and do their thing, and they have not done that.
Yeah,
but they love it in the compost. So
it's been a bummer because we've been doing it for years and we just can't get them to establish themselves over there. But they finally now establish themselves in the compost, which means they will make their way into other parts of our gardens.
Everything.
And we'll just wait and see where that ends up at.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of like foraging and stuff, we're working on an episode of the podcast right now. The next episode that's going to come out this month is going to be, it's a very herb-based program, and we're kind of talking about growing versus buying versus foraging of plants. When's the best time to do it? What's going to be a choice here? The pros and cons of each avenue of herb acquisition, I guess you could say. And anyways, we're working a lot on foraging right now. And this is kind of the time of year here in Michigan where things are just starting to pop. You know, things are coming up and getting hot and happy.
Well, I mean, here in Michigan, some of the things that you may already be seeing, especially a little further south, like dandelions just started popping the past couple days. We are just seeing...
To put that in perspective, our dandelions literally have just come out in the last couple of days, but even just down the road in town, they've been out for a week or more. So we're definitely behind the ball on some things. So for those of you, especially that are in different areas, I would love to drop it in the chat. What are some of the plants that are starting to come out around you, or what have been out for a while? I'd love to hear about that. That seems
especially
really
things that you are foraging or are interested in foraging. If you have a question about them, you know, we made a couple notes about some things. Do we want to get the next tea steeping or?
Well, yeah, probably. let's get the tea steeping. While you steep it, I'll start busting off some of these notes here that we got. Some of the plants that we mentioned dandelions, of course, which, as we all know, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir on this one with you guys, but every part of that dandelion is useful and awesome, right? Edible, nutritious, medicinal, delicious. It is just a fantastic plant. And it just cracks me up when I meet gardeners or whomever that is like got beef with dandelions, because that's the silliest thing I can even imagine. Plantain. Plantain, it's just coming in. I probably won't honestly start harvesting a lot of plantain until summer when it's full on. But if I needed to get my hands on some, I most certainly could. And it's these young tender leaves that are coming out right now that are going to be the most delicious. If I'm looking to eat the plantain leaf, it's high in vitamin C. Very, very good. The older leaf, of course, is very stringy. You got to cook it down. It's a lot more work. But of course, it's medicinal, and we're going to want it for that.
Well,
for sure.
Jenny right here is mentioning comfrey, which is on our list too, which that is one of the first things to also pop up and look so pretty as it comes out of the ground. And then we use it to plant our tomatoes. You know, we backfill it in the
Comfrey is a dynamic accumulator, right? So these plants are growing tap roots way down into the subsoil, deep in there. And they're pulling all these micronutrients up and storing it in the leaves. And by the time we're ready to start transplanting our tomatoes into the garden, our comfrey plants are full on. And we just harvest up those fresh leaves, which are now holding all of those minerals and micronutrients. And we're putting them down in the hole with the tomatoes. So as they decompose, they release all of this goodness. And you can practically tell when it happens because these tomatoes are just like, woo.
So that's a really good way to use your comfrey, because I mean, if your comfrey is anything like mine, it grows and grows and grows bigger and bigger and bigger every year. So you kind of got to find a way to keep containing it.
So Brina mentions hostas are popping up. Oh, beautiful, delicious, by the way.
Did you know?
Young hostas, get them and eat them. They're fantastic. You can eat the young part of the plant is very, very good, but my favorite part. Once they flower, and they'll produce seed pods. And when those young seed pods are still tender and green, get them and eat them. They taste a lot like garden peas. They're delicious. Saute them up in some butter or something. Fantastic. A lot of people on the internet might be familiar with utilizing young hostas as a food, but that plant can feed us all throughout the season if you can keep the deer out of it. The deer love to come and munch on the hostas for sure. Let's see. Bonnie's got a ton of dandelions. She's seen plantain. Creeping Charlie. Yeah, so the Creeping Charlie, when we had our little greenhouse over next to the house, Creeping Charlie kind of moved into the corner there, and it really took over, and it can spread pretty quickly, but it's also delicious, and it's high in minerals. So I would love to gather up the Creeping Charlie, and I would infuse it in vinegar, and I'd make salad dressings with it. And it's kind of got like a sweet, herby type of flavor to it. It was really, really good. And it was a good way to use a lot of that plant really quickly to try to cut down on that spread. And ironically enough, since we've moved the greenhouse and it's not there anymore, all that Creeping Charlie's gone.
Yeah, it is. And instead, we've been trying to fight back the garlic mustard, which is an invasive plant that
but it's also delicious.
Yeah, so at least you get to pick it and do something with it. But so by the way, we are steeping the next tea, which is the jasmine tea. This is a really fun example of a really different green tea. So tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, so the jasmine tea, it's a green tea.
Ooh, I can smell it.
Yeah, they blend the tea leaf with jasmine flowers. It doesn't actually have any jasmine flowers in it. You can buy it sometimes that it does, but most times it's just literally infused by being in the presence of jasmine flowers. It captures
Isn't that
all of
bizarre?
That
Isn't that bizarre that they can just put the green tea leaves next to jasmine flowers and that they're so they have so much absorption, and the jasmine is so vibrant and intense that it's
pretty amazing.
It just sucks up that scent, and it is so strong. I mean, if you're drinking that, and you can if you've ever been to like some Chinese restaurants, typically serve it. Where else can you? Obviously, tea places.
Any tea house, a quality tea house. All my stuff almost just blew away. A quality tea house almost always has a jasmine tea, and I recommend it for sure because it's peaceful.
It's very
got
peaceful.
A nice flavor to it. And an episode of the podcast last season, if you listen to the podcast, you might remember we did an episode with Wendy Fan, who's from LA. She specializes in small space growing. So we had her on the show to talk about that. But she's also been offering these teas through her website. So she had sent me some tea in the mail, some jasmine tea. And on the episode, we steeped and drank the tea together.
Yeah, it really inspired some other episodes that we did. Well, the first episode of this season 3.
The first one Heather was on. We did a tea tasting. we're doing a tea tasting right now.
Yeah.
So that all came from Wendy fans. So if you haven't heard that episode, check it out because Wendy's just a wealth of knowledge, anyways, and it was super fun. And if you're not listening to the podcast, what are you doing?
Yeah, on any streaming app. So it's really casual. I mean, at this point now, it's just me and Ben chatting about whatever's going on, and filled with a lot of content. I mean, and that's what we strive for, is like casual content. We want you to feel inspired to get in the garden. We want you to have some tips and tricks and understanding, but we really just want to inspire you, because it's not always, doesn't have to be so specific. You just need to get out there. You know how good it feels to just touch the dirt for the first time, put your feet in that fresh, cold earth. Like, it heals on a level that other things can't.
It's fantastic. Let's look at some of these comments here now. We got Sabrina's mentioned she made dandelion syrup the other day and she's enjoyed it in her tea. That's fantastic. I love
awesome.
that. That's very cool. Dandelion syrup sounds nice. We've made violet syrup. That was actually a recipe that was in Herbs in Every Season. We did a violet syrup, which was really nice, but a dandelion syrup sounds nice.
And as a teaser for the next seasonal herb boxes, we might be having a syrup in that one. So I'm not going to tell you what it is yet, but syrups are so easy to make. So if you haven't ever tried with that or tried to do it, there's that violet syrup recipe on the Patreon, but obviously you can Google and they're very simple.
Sabrina, if you're still here, please let me know what that dandelion syrup tastes like. I'm curious about that. I haven't had that. So drop some notes about that because that sounds cool. I see Jean here. She's mentioned a bunch of good stuff. Her broccoli is going to seed and she's got volunteer basil already growing in Arizona.
Wow.
So I'm a little jealous of that, let me say.
I mean, I don't want my broccoli going to seed quite yet.
Well, not yet. But... I mean, my broccolis are this tall.
Yeah, we need to be getting that stuff out into the gardens, and we're working on it. But there's always a billion and one things to do.
There is a billion and one things to do. But I'd rather just hang out with you guys. That's way more fun. Tina's mentioned she loves jasmine tea and she puts butterfly pea flower in it. That's awesome. And it gives it that beautiful blue color, right?
Yeah.
That's really cool. Our friend Shannon McCabe, she used to work for a horticulturist at Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds for years and years. And she had a baby, got married, and then she moved and her husband moved down to Florida. And it's Plant Sages is what you'd find on Plant Sages is on Instagram. That's their handle. And they have a whole nursery of exotic, beautiful plants that they grow down there. And they sell starts. I've gotten green tea, gotten tea plant starts from them. They sell the butterfly pea flowers. They got all sorts of cool stuff. So Plant Sages on Instagram. Find that. Cool Very people. Cool people. Really awesome stuff for sure. Okay, I do want to mention red buds really quick, though. We're talking about the plants that we're going to be harvesting, and I do want to mention red bud because I love it so much. And the red bud is just coming in here for us right now. And I love it. Red bud is in the same plant family as peas and beans, Fabaceae. And if you look at the flowers up close, they really resemble like a pea flower. They're very similar. And I think they kind of taste like peas. And they're delicious. You can make teas out of them, but I just love to just straight up eat them. I love it so much.
He was just down at a library that was the red bud capital of
Buchanan, Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan.
The red bud capital. I mean, they had the red bud trail you could walk on. All the stores were named after red bud something. And I mean, this town was packed with red buds everywhere. The whole town was landscaped. It was so gorgeous and pretty and awesome. So on the lead off in the talk, I mentioned how thrilled I was to see all these red buds, and I was so excited to eat all of their trees while I was there. Not one person in that room knew that the red bud was edible. I was in the red bud capital of Michigan, and they didn't even know they could be eating these trees. What in the world? And then it was a doubleheader day. So after that, I drove about a half an hour north to another town to give another talk. And I opened by talking about these folks in Buchanan and the red buds and how they had this wealth of delicious food they didn't even know about. And not one person in that room knew that you could eat red buds either. I was shocked.
I mean, Ben likes to eat random weird things and really thrives on that knowledge. So
it's fun.
But it is fun to be like, did you know these common plants that are just sitting along? I mean, and red buds maybe not so common, but there is a lot of other examples of plants that are just all over the place that people either think are just more ornamental or they just aren't consuming them. And really, when we look around us, there's food everywhere. And why plant something that isn't edible? Why would we keep planting? Like Ben's always saying, why?
Everybody's got a Japanese maple in their yard for some reason.
Right. Or give me 5 reasons why grass or good.
Yeah. What are 5 good uses for grass? So, chat. Maybe you guys could tell me 5 good uses for grass. If you guys could do that, I would be impressed. I've got 2. I'll start us off with 2. We have got feeding cows, and we have playing baseball. So I'm still looking for 3 good uses for grass. If anybody's got them, I would love to hear about it. But I don't think you're gonna. I was a little bummed about the red bud thing, but then I thought about it from a different point of view, and I just turned all those people onto something new that they can go out and snack on. So that was cool. That was a victory.
No, that's a super victory. And
for sure.
Actually, just like the hostas, I think a lot of people, like we mentioned earlier, don't know that hostas are edible. So a lot of people have hostas all over the place. So go out there, try one, you'll be impressed.
Eat it.
All right, so
this next tea, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
What do you taste?
We kind of already, chatted about how
look at the color
of it, but it's
yellow.
Yellow is dark yellow.
The last tea was obviously a little more like pale green in color, and this one is golden. It is like
very much.
That's incredible. I think we've obviously steeped it a little too long. It's getting a little bit of bitter in my mouth.
Super good though.
Still good.
Yeah,
for sure. Still.
So in all these Camellia sinensis teas are from the herb co-op that obviously as Patreon members you guys all have access to.
That's right.
So I did want to touch base about that a little bit because it's a really cool basically buying club that we all have together. Now a couple of the herbs that are in that herb co-op come from our farm. Super cool. But then the rest of them come from the Frontier Herb Co-op that we've been a part of for many years. And I realized that if we could all, join forces together, that we can have access to these super great organic, fair trade, responsibly harvested herbs. So
quality stuff and ridiculous prices, folks. Let me just tell you this. We just had somebody order 3 packages of chicory root through the co-op. And I had to check to make sure that there wasn't an error, which there was not. 3 packages, and what are they, per ounce? So 3 ounces of chicory root, and it was $7.50. I don't know any other place you could get herbs for those prices.
It's a super good price. We're all benefiting by getting this wholesale price together, and it becomes a really cool, and that's what we together with the Patreon are like this membership club. So if you haven't already checked it out, go to the website. You got to request access, and then I'll give you your login information. But and then if you're part of the couple higher tiers of the Patreon where you get the seasonal herb boxes, then you can get free shipping on anything on the website. So
it gets shipped right with your quarterly order. So whatever you buy comes with your quarterly package. So the shipping is free. So that's something you should definitely take advantage of.
Yeah, and what are we in? We're at the beginning of May. So summer
goes out June 20th.
Summer kits will go out mid-June, so that they kind of arrive at your door right around the solstice. So just keep it in mind. And what's cool about, and it kind of comes back to this episode that we're building about buying versus growing herbs, is that sometimes it's necessary to buy herbs when you need a large enough quantity that you can't grow it, or B,
something exotic.
Yeah, something exotic. And there is a lot of spices, roots,
these
berries,
teas,
things that you may not be growing or have access to, or the teas, obviously. Yeah, teas. So there's a bunch of cool things. Go check it out. I think it's 40, 50 different herbs. And I want to keep growing that. So if we all can keep banding together and people utilize it, then I can keep offering different things. And once again, if you're looking for a plant that you don't see, then let us know.
Okay, we got a report back from Sabrina here. Thank you, Sabrina, on the information about the syrup. Very earthy, not quite as sweet as
syrup?
the violet
this
syrup.
is the dandelion syrup.
She's currently drinking it in a tea with nettles, alfalfa, and raspberry leaf, which sounds pretty awesome.
Sounds lovely
on its own. She did not have the patience to pick all the petals off the main plant, soak the whole flower heads. Oh yeah, for sure. If I was working with violets, I probably would do the same thing too. There's just a lot of tiny meticulous work.
I mean, maybe it would become a little bit more bitter since you
Oh no, it's not the violets. You're doing the dandelions.
The dandelions, yeah.
Interesting. It may get more bitter that way, leaving the heads on there.
But probably not a big deal. So
bad.
Heck yeah, less work the better.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. For sure.
Actually, that's a funny story. When we had first moved to Small House and we wanted to hire Elijah to pick the dandelions in the yard.
We were doing one of our first workshops at Ways to Wellness, a store in Midland here by us. It's like a naturopath type of place. And they'd hired us to come do a salve making workshop. So I needed a large quantity of plant material. So we chose we're going to do a dandelion salve. Go ahead.
So we told Elijah, we'll pay you. Well, first I think we said a penny for each dandelion. And he was only 5 or 6 years old.
He already negotiated. He said he wanted a quarter a piece.
And obviously that was crazy. So we said, I think we ended up settling at 5 cents a piece. But regardless, it was a hilarious, and it's a story that we tell still, obviously, to this day.
Cost me $45.
But we got a big
here.
chunk of dandelions. And,
we didn't have dandelions on the property. It didn't seem for like 2 years after that. He basically picked everything he could find.
But now, actually, when the dandelions go to seed, we like make the kids go around and blow them all so that they keep spreading.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he over harvested. Which could bring us back to an important point, and I feel like I'd be preaching to the choir on this one as well, folks. But when we are harvesting from the wild, I think it's very important that we're responsible. First, of course, make sure you properly identify anything before you pick it, especially if you're going to, do anything with it, eat it or make medicine with it. You have to know what it is. And then, of course, responsibly harvest.
And nettles is a good example. Ben, when he's in some talks talking about foraging, he talks a lot about, well, if we're only allowed to harvest a third of something, but what if I come to a patch and I harvest a third, and then the next person comes to a patch and they harvest a third, and a third, and a third, and a third, and you see how that goes, because then we don't know what other people are going to do or have already done. And so it really comes down to...
Yeah, don't base it on a third. Base it on only harvest exactly what you need.
Yeah.
Take what you need. And if you take some and you take it home and you realize that you needed more, tough. I mean, that's the lesson to learn. Keep notes on that and then remember for next time.
And this is actually the time of year where I start evaluating, did I harvest too much last year? Because, I mean, right now we're cleaning out the shelves, we're cleaning out the things, getting ready to load them back up with freshly harvested things of this next season. And I definitely always come across bags of herbs that I'm like, gosh, I didn't need to harvest so much of this. And those good examples of those would be like catnip. I got catnip all over this dang property. Peppermint, we got a lot of that, but it's, obviously sometimes I don't want the catnip to go to seed, so I'm harvesting it just for that purpose. But where am I going with this thought?
This is a good time of year to kind of think about what we've done, to kind of recap. As we're moving from winter into spring, as we're starting to plan our new activities, we kind of have used winter to kind of think about last year's activities. So it's almost a seamless transition between what did we do last year, what are we going to do this year. If you've still got jars and jars and jars of nettles or catnip or whatever it might be, that means you're harvesting too much.
Right, doing too much work.
Do something different with your time, right?
This is a funny question off topic, but where did the name Bevan come from? And I have caught myself multiple times as we were talking.
Actually Ben. So my name is actually Bevan. Bevan is my name, and Ben is like my nickname. So it'd be like James or Jim or Kevin and Ken. Is that Ken and
Mike
name
and
for
Michael?
Kevin? I made that up.
Mike and Michael. I mean, so either way, he's always gone by Ben most of his life until he published his first book back in like 2018. And I said, well, you got to put your whole real name on there. His real name is Bevan Cohen. So anyways, everybody that knows him quite personally calls him Ben. So I just like, it flows out of my mouth and I didn't even realize, but I was thinking about it a couple times as we were saying.
Yeah. So Bevan is, that's my real name.
Now you guys know him personally too. So that's why you get in on that. Okay, and
that's awesome. I'd like to, before we move on, I would like to also point out that Molly and JC, Molly says the Patreon boxes are great and it's such fun to try new things. And JC, I agree with Molly. The seasonal boxes are great and I use everything in them. That's so cool.
It is cool. It's really nice to get some feedback because I feel like, I mean, occasionally we get some people saying this and that, but like,
it's really nice to hear that. I mean, we put a lot of work into those, and they're really fun for us to put together because it's different stuff. We get to experiment and try new things, and so that's really fun for us to do. So it's nice to know that the joy that we have creating the boxes passes along to you, and that you enjoy getting the boxes. That's really neat because they are so much fun, and it allows us these opportunities to try new things. The products on the Small House website, some of them we've offered a decade.
Years,
and it's the same, and we mass produce them, and it's and that's okay, that's fine. But with these ones, we get to try small batch versions of just new ways to work with plants, and so it's really fun and it's revitalizing for us, I think.
Very revitalizing.
And we wouldn't be able to do it if you guys weren't getting the boxes and enjoying them.
I'm also kind of wondering how you guys feel about not knowing, like the fact that it's kind of a surprise each season. Is that good? Is that bad? Do you feel like you would rather know what's coming up, and would that entice other people to tier up, to upgrade their memberships if they knew what they were going to get? So that's something I've thought about a couple times too.
That's a good question.
Okay, I'm going to get this next tea steeping because we're going to go on to the black tea next. It's the orange Pekoe. So tell them about that.
Trina says she enjoys the surprises. I think I would enjoy the surprises as well too. All right, so the orange Pekoe. Okay, so this is an interesting one. Orange Pekoe is a black tea, and it's called orange Pekoe, but it doesn't have any oranges in it. It's really not orange at all. So the mature leaf, as it kind of oxidizes, gets a bit of a orangish copper color to it, which is where the orange comes from. But Pekoe is actually a grading system. It's a colonial-based grading system on the quality of the tea. So Pekoe is one of the highest quality black teas, but in Pekoe itself, it is then divided up into that. So the straight up orange Pekoe is a lower quality Pekoe, but Pekoe is a higher quality black tea. Confusing? Maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Sometimes known as a Ceylon black tea. They're from Sri Lanka most often, which is an island off the southeast of India. It was called Ceylon when it was under British control. Now it's Sri Lanka is how we know it as a free country. But that's where the tea comes from. So it's a high quality black leaf. So this is now a mature leaf that has been allowed time to cure. Let's get that steep, and it's going to be a much different flavor. So for this one, of course, we want boiling hot water if we can. Now a tea connoisseur might say 205 degrees Fahrenheit. That seems to be the common for the perfect brew, but boiling is going to be fine for this. And we're going to steep it about 4 to 6 minutes or so.
Yep.
Is what they
We'll
say.
see how this. Our water's a little cooler at this point, so we'll see how.
Yeah, we'll see
that
how that
steeps.
turns out. While that's going on, I want to talk about foraging from a different point of view.
Ah, yes.
Actually, I want to talk about foraging from the garden, which is something I've been doing a lot lately. And what this means, I'm just finding things growing in the garden. And I'm essentially foraging for them. I'm looking out every day to see what's popping and what's new and what can I harvest and snack on. And there's a lot of cool stuff popping up in the garden right now. I've got parsley is up and Adam. Our comfrey, of course, is coming on. We've got the green onions. All the chives are up. The Egyptian walking onions, they've been booming for a while now. There's the kale. Overwinter kale is coming up. What else is there?
What do we have on this list? Oh, well, motherwort and the catnip.
Oh, the motherwort and the catnip. And so the motherwort and catnip, these are kind of like weeds or whatever, or the dandelions or things that we're going to find mullein that are all appreciating this disturbed soil spaces that were our gardens last year, that are disturbed soil. These weeds really take hold there very quickly. And so we see, I got dandelions popping up all over the place, and the soil in the garden is so soft and friable. It's so easy just to pull these whole plants right up and then bring them in the kitchen and enjoy them. You know, so I'm foraging right in the garden, and that's really nice because, well, one, I don't have to go very far, right? It's right here. That's cool. I don't have to go searching for stuff. If you're like hunting for morel mushrooms or whatever, you got to hunt for them. I don't got to hunt for stuff out here in the garden. I know right where it is. I can identify it very easily. I'm doing myself a favor really by pulling these dandelions up out anyways, because they're going to have to go to make room for other crops. So it's a really fun and easy and accessible way to forage for food and medicine without ever having to leave my property.
Yeah, or you might be surprised that eventually you just stop pulling like purple dead nettle or the
prunella, the self-heal, plantain. We got patches.
Oh my gosh, the plantain has taken over big chunks of the yard. But I mean,
I love it.
Yeah, and it's easier to manage. Well, once again,
we've got a dandelion in the front garden that has been there for years. This thing, oh my gosh, the rosette is tremendous and is enjoying all the benefits of all the nutrients that the garden's getting. You know what I mean? So this thing is big time. And we can harvest all the leaves off it whenever we want. When it blooms, it puts out so many flowers, and then we pick all the flowers, and then it'll put out more flowers.
Yeah, it's a cool one.
And it's like, so it's right here in the garden, and it's like, it's loving its life, and I'm loving it. We're having a good time together. So it's really, really nice to accept some of these plants that other people might try to shame or put down or whatever. And
find a use for them, embrace
people,
them.
We all know that's good stuff, right?
Yeah,
so let it do its thing.
So what should we be planting though right now? Once again, I know we're all from like all around the country. Ooh, we got someone from Western Washington. Ooh, that gets us. We haven't had anybody from
Western Washington. Go to our calendar at some point in your life, Leah, because the first weekend of June, June 7th. I won't say the date. I just did. I'm going to be in Seattle at Mountain Rose Herbs Mercantile at the Mountain Rose Herbs store. We're doing a tea tasting and book signing in Seattle. You should totally come and check it out. It's free. Come and enjoy it.
In live person tea tasting. So
real life. So
Mountain Rose Herbs, which is a hilarious relationship that we have really fostered and love, because when we first started out as herbalists and as small house endeavor, that we were buying herbs from Mountain Rose Herbs, but we
I think we all have. Everybody as an herbalist has probably bought something from Mountain Rose Herbs at some point. It's one of the most reputable online suppliers of herbs. But now I like we've really developed a nice relationship. I write for their blog. I'm going out to there to do a book signing. We've all kind of become buddies.
Yeah, so we love them.
Yeah, I do love them. Everybody seems to have a consensus here that they love the surprise.
The surprise. I know. I love to hear that. That's
Sabrina,
exciting.
the next box will be her first. Oh, you are in for some treats. I mean, all the boxes are great, but I feel like they keep getting better and better. We've really perfected this. So I think they're coming in really
because
nice.
these boxes coming up, or this whole year, 2025 boxes are kind of being based upon Bevan's new book about herbs in every season. It's a really cool overlap. And you know, we're introducing this new herbal trading cards that I'm developing this whole idea. So you guys are kind of first on the frontier of that. Anyways,
hi Jen from Finger Lakes. Where are the Finger Lakes at? Is that New York State? Am I correct with that? Let us know. Thank you for joining us also.
But anyway, so since we're all over the country, but what we're about to start planting here, or are currently in the midst of planting, are all your brassicas. And ours aren't going to seed yet. So planting the spinach, mustards, brassicas, dill, peas, getting them out as quick as you can, because before we know it here, it's going to be so hot that they will go to seed. So
we just potted up tomatoes and peppers. Obviously for us, it's way too soon to get them out, but we're already potting them up. You know, they're little guys. But right into the garden, we got kale already going, a bunch of mustards like brassicas, like she said. Those are going really well. Peas, we probably should have already planted by now technically, but you know, whatever.
This is a busy time because Ben's on, you know, touring a lot during the spring season, so everything kind of gets away from us. And then we had just came back from Spain, which I know that you guys got a couple stories about that, but in the Patreon. But because of all those interruptions, sometimes the garden just, you know, we get to it when we get to it. And that's what's fun about the garden, is that it's not, it provides joy. It doesn't need to give us stress. Like, I know that there's deadlines and things that we need to try to stay on top of, but for the most part, if it isn't giving us joy, then we got to stop doing it. We have to find the ways to give it joy, for it to give us joy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, ultimately, that's what everything's about. So, and this is a lesson that we've been learning over the years, you know, is sometimes, well, things don't go according to plan, and you got to be flexible with that.
Because
the garden helps us learn that over and over again.
Right. And because we live in the woods, I mean, sometimes over the years, we've tried to plant things that need more sun, and we work really hard. Oh, we want to do all these tomatoes, we want to do all these peppers, but they need more sun than we have. So we've learned over the years also to adjust to our ecosystem, plant what works for us instead of trying to get the plants to work.
Right, so we're not trying to bend nature's will. Sometimes we have to bend our own will. Yes. I mean, it has inspired us. Up front, we've now created an entire maze of raised beds over there, so I have more sun for tomatoes instead of trying to grow them back where we used to grow them, which is now a brassica bed. Right. An incredible amount of, an array of different brassicas going on back there, which is super fun. For sure. But wherever you guys are at, you guys got a lot of different stuff going on. I'd love to know about what you're planting as well. If you want to let us know some things that are going on into your gardens. So it sounds like for our friend in Arizona, you're probably already harvesting a bunch of stuff. So you're having a great time with that. And again, a little jealous, but our time will come soon. Our time will come.
So, okay, soon. What are we thinking about this black tea? So my water wasn't as hot as I feel like it needed to be. So it has a very light, soft flavor.
I was going to say it's kind of sweet almost.
Which is something we get for a lot from the tea tasting. People say that a lot about the black tea, which is very interesting. But it has.
I would say it's got like honey in it.
Yeah, it is really good though. Very drinkable. It doesn't taste bitter for me yet, so it's still doing its thing.
Yeah, I'm surprised by how sweet that is, especially for how long we steeped it. But again, we're using the cooler water, you know? And so this is the thing we dig into a lot when we talk about tea, is how the temperature of the water affects.
You got a bee in your beard.
The extraction process.
You gonna flick it.
You know what? There was a bee on the table where I set my cup, and I bet he got onto the cup and traveled right to my face.
Yep.
There he goes. Heather just saw her first bumblebee, not this one for my beard, but
that was something that I wanted to mention actually, because you know, when do you start taking the leaves, or like removing all the leaves and the things off your garden to start getting, you know, diving into the season? And you know how there's a big movement nowadays about like waiting, don't remove all those leaves because you disturb all the
habitat for all these little insects and guys, you know, our buzzy buddies.
And just today I saw our first bumblebee. So obviously everybody's gonna have a different experience depending on where they are in the country, but
that's typically the sign. You see the first bumblebees coming out. That means everybody's up and at them. It's a safe time to start cleaning out the garden and getting ready for spring.
Yeah.
So that was today for us.
Yeah. And then one came and visited us right there while we were chatting.
You wanted to be part of the group.
But one thing, when I was Googling about orange Pekoe that I thought was really cool is that apparently it had a lot of health benefits. I mean, Camellia sinensis has a lot of health benefits itself, but they were pitching like this black tea had more specific benefits, including heart health and brain function, and it definitely aids digestion and preventing, Google says, preventing certain diseases. But I just thought it was interesting that
brain function, you say?
Yeah. What do you know?
I need more of that.
All right, so we're so happy that you all joined us. Like, it really is exciting and fun to have you guys chatting with us. So thank you for coming. I think one thing that we really wanted to leave you guys with is the concept of not being intimidated in the garden and getting out there and making mistakes. I mean, actually, just today, I was transplanting the peppers, and Ben said that I was.
She's a little rough with them.
Yeah, and they were really limpy and sad, and he thought that they were gonna not make it. But I think that they're gonna make it, and they seem to be making a comeback. But and how many years have I been transplanting
up
these
the plants?
Yeah, but and actually sometimes I do them intentionally because they better be able to handle some abuse. But
she says the same thing about me.
There's room for mistakes all over the place, and we still make them all the time, and you're gonna make them, and then you're gonna be doing this for years, and then you're still gonna make mistakes. But it's not really always about the end product, it's about the journey. It's about being in the garden. It's about providing the mental clarity and the physical fitness and all of the things that getting in the garden does for you and us and as a family. And
I like that. I mean, there's so many benefits before we even pick that first herb or enjoy that first homegrown tomato. We've already experienced and appreciated so many benefits.
Right.
Like you're saying.
It's kind of like the wood thing, how they say it warms you 3 times.
Yeah. You know, heating your house with wood warms you multiple times, right? There's chopping the wood, there's hauling the wood, and then finally burning the wood.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. And you know that, oh my gosh, when you harvest a bundle of mint or you take that first bite of that first tomato, the joy and love, and it's undescribable. So get out there. If you haven't already done XYZ of those things to plant, do it. Try it this year. See what happens.
Jenny here mentions they bought some tomato seeds from us at a seed swap.
Nice.
And everyone around is super excited to try the different plants. They got the Livingston, the Blue Provence, and the Campagna. Oh, this is fantastic. The Blue Provence tomato. Those of you like Jenny that have gotten that seed, we're the only folks in all of North America that have those seeds and are growing those tomatoes. So that is a very special experience that we get to have.
Yeah, we went to France a couple years ago. They're from France, and we brought them back with us. We went to a market. We were hunting for like a cool random tomato, and that was the one that caught our eye. And
yeah, I processed the seeds in our apartment in Italy. Actually, we brought them on the train. We took them to Italy. I fermented the seeds at the hotel,
and then we might have had to smuggle them back into the country. So you better appreciate those seeds and keep growing them, and then save the seeds too, because obviously, just like every time you save the seeds out of your garden, those plants are going to grow better for you next year. They're going to go bigger, better, tastier. You know, it just keeps adapting to your ecosystem.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Important.
And that's part of the fun too, is watching these things grow and thrive right in your garden, you know, and then you get to appreciate all those tomatoes. Oh, Eileen's got some of those seeds too. Thank you so much. I love this time. You know what? When we were planning on doing this, I was honestly a little hesitant about it, because it's like, what are we going to do? We're just going to talk to the computer, and what if nobody comes, or who knows what's going to happen? But you guys came, and it's been awesome. And I just really appreciate having this opportunity to connect with each other. I think that as far as like members of the Patreon community goes, this is like one of those sweet perks that you guys have this opportunity that nobody else gets, right? To all of us to hang out together like this and share ideas and build this community. And that's really, really cool. And you know, obviously being here, you're a part of that. We're a part of that together. And I just appreciate all of you so much. It's really neat to have this opportunity.
And so, you know, maybe we'll do this again, and maybe we'll do it again in the fall, like in the winter when we're all bored and inside. This might be a great time. I mean, obviously we like to be outside, and it's nice to do something like this outside. But we'll see what's up, and maybe I'll do a little poll about what people think. But,
yeah, if you guys are into it and want to do more of these, let us know, because that would be super cool. We could even do things maybe even more involved than drinking tea. Who knows what could happen? So let us know your ideas. Let us know, you know, what you're into.
Drinking tea was fun though. Thanks for that.
It was super fun. This tea, I think, might be my favorite of the 3.
I don't know. I think the jasmine was my favorite. But
That's true. Yesterday we went to a little Korean restaurant down the way, and they are fantastic. They do these kimchi
They're from Mount
flights
Pleasant,
in Mount
Eileen.
Pleasant, Eileen. So yeah, this where the old Green Tree Grocery used to be, and they have this kimchi and they have all these different teas, and they've got this ginger tea that Heather got. Whew, phenomenal.
And it was just, I swear, just ginger and sugar.
Yeah.
Starting peppers, tomatoes, and many herbs. I brought your book, Herbs in Every Season, The Abundance of Herbs Just in My Yard. I noticed is amazing. Yeah,
Thought of them as weeds. Yes. So Jen, this is the whole thing. First off, thank you for buying the book. I much appreciate that. But really my goal with that book was to help people look at everything from a different point of view, changing our perspective the slightest bit and the impact that that could have in our lives. Whether we're looking at the herbs from a seasonal perspective and seeing it that way, whether we're looking at the abundance of plants that nature makes available to us, fantastic. Or whether we're just seeing things that we once considered weeds and realizing how beneficial and awesome and delicious and health giving that they are. That's so cool. So to hear that helping you change your point of view by getting the book, boy, that's a mission accomplished for me. So you're making my day, Jen.
Yeah,
really
you know, something we actually say a lot is that whatever symptom or ailment that you're experiencing, probably the cure for it or something that can help it is just growing in your backyard. And a lot of times we don't even realize what's growing. And then all of a sudden, because just like when you don't see things, and then all of a sudden you see it, and then you see it everywhere. And you notice that, oh my gosh, the plantain is everywhere. So anytime I had a bug bite, I could just be like, oh, I'm in the park, or oh, I'm at the store, or I'm here or there, and I can pick some and put it on my bug bite or my bee sting, and it's there for me. But the key is that there's probably more in your backyard than you realize. And maybe by backyard, I say that loosely. That could mean in your neighborhood or in your local park or in your grandma's house. So look around.
Yeah, absolutely. You never know, because Mother Nature provides for everything that we need if we take the time to look for it, even if that's at your grandma's house.
Yeah, a lot of things are at your grandma's house. You should probably go there. All right, it was so much fun. Whoa.
We better wrap it up quick before we get blown away. Drying so many dandelions right now. That is awesome. Yeah, so the flowers, of course, we're going to dry them, especially before we put them in oil, right? But the leaves, I just love them fresh so much. Cook them right up. One of our first YouTube videos, really aside here, our first YouTube video we ever did, it's even filmed vertically, so you can tell it's old school, is us gathering dandelions and cooking them up, and with some shiitake mushrooms from our logs and some garlic out of our garden or whatever, and enjoying a little spring treat.
I was going to reshare that one, so maybe I will, just because of that conversation. But
yeah, we'll put it in the Patreon. If you guys want to see it, go on the Patreon page. We'll put that video there so you guys can check it out, because it's hilarious. But useful, and it's got a nice recipe in it if you guys wanted to replicate it and enjoy some dandelions.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. Well, good. Well, enjoy the afternoon. We have a beautiful Sunday to enjoy, and then good luck in your gardens.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. Happy growing.
See ya.